Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and with Brock Purdy's contract official, 5 years, $265 million, he put pen to paper yesterday. We are beginning to learn more details about the negotiations as the days go by, and ESPN's Adam Schefter dropped a doozy on us yesterday by telling us what exactly those first offers were. Now, we do know San Francisco's first offer for Brock Purdy was around $49 million. That was reported by NBC Sports Bay Area's Matt Mayoko. But Schefter told us what Brock Purdy's agent first offer was to the San Francisco 49ers. Take a listen right here.
Adam, we had been asking you for months about Brock Purdy's impending deal. The 49ers and Purdy get it done. 5 years, $265 million. Take us through how they arrived at this number, because we were all debating on what Brock Purdy would garner based on his resume.
Well, listen, I think there's a lot of ways to come to this number, and a lot of ways that they did come to this number. There were multiple meetings between the two sides, and I think Brock Purdy's initial asking price was north of $60 million. And he was not going to get $60 million. He was not going to become the highest paid quarterback in football. It didn't fit into the 49ers salary structure. And I think also there was the idea that, at one point in time, maybe the 49ers would have listened for Brock Purdy trade offers. There were no trade offers that came in. There were no teams that really expressed interest. And Brock Purdy's perfect for them, and he's perfect for them. Like, they're perfect for him. He's perfect for them. It just works. It's the way it should be. His value is greatest on that team. Mm-hmm. And that's a little bit why they didn't view him right now as this $60+ million quarterback. His initial ask price, I believe, was about $65 million. So it came down to $53 million in the end. And that's a fair number. It places him in the top tier of quarterbacks, not the richest, not the worst. He finally gets paid. He's making more per game than I think he made in his entire rookie contract now. So, this is the way that it should be, and it was weeks of discussions and meetings, and finally they were able to put the deal to bed on Friday.
Brock Purdy's agent asked for $65 million a year, and we on the show have long speculated that Brock has every right to ask for a Dak Prescott level deal. And it seems like Brock Purdy's agent did indeed ask for that, so good for them, good for him. But on top of that, the reason why I want to highlight this is because this is how you negotiate in good faith. This is how most organizations, most sports agents want their contracts to be done. Now, you have guys like Scott Boras and Drew Rosenhaus who will have their receivers and their quarterbacks, their players they represent, hold out, hold in to get the last, a little pinch of money they can grab from the team. But this is how you want your franchise quarterback negotiation contracts to go. Because yes, everybody knows, whether you're on Pawn Stars, at your local shop bartering for something, or in massive $1 million negotiations with the San Francisco 49ers, you always start high with the intention that, hey, if we start really high, we can go low and maybe get the number we actually believe we are worth or deserve. And in San Francisco's case, in their mind, they're going to start low thinking, hey, we do want to give this quarterback, in this case, Brock Purdy, a larger contract than $49 million per year, but don't want to start too high because then we lose leverage. And you saw Brock Purdy's agent ask for $65 million, and you saw San Francisco say, hey, we'll give you 49 instead. And what happens? They meet all the way down in the middle, somewhere around $53 million per year now. We have no idea what the full guarantees look like just yet. The year-to-year stuff hasn't come out just yet, but once they do, this deal continues to look like a big win. And going back into the whole good faith argument that Brock, and he said himself, came into OTAs or the pre-OTA sessions before the draft knowing that I want to operate in good faith with the organization. We want to be able to come to the table and get this thing out of the way. And I talked about it in when the deal first happened. This may have been the easiest negotiation this franchise has ever done under this current regime. There was no real rumors. No one really knew what was going on. The only thing we had heard was that Brock's agent was in Indianapolis during the scouting combine. And after that, it was radio silence. It was, oh, a deal's not going to get done soon. It's going to happen in July. It's going to happen in September. It's going to happen all these months later. But what happened? Happened on May 16th of all days before the OTA session. And it's a big win for both parties. Brock obviously gets paid. He operates in good faith. It shows who he is as a person. You saw his family out there with him. They had a big, really, it's a big birthday cake with, congratulations, Brock Purdy 13 on it. It was him and his brother and his wife and his family. It was awesome. It was like, you are now a multi-million-dollar, one of the richest players in NFL history, and you're celebrating like it's a high school graduation. That's who Brock Purdy and his family are. But for San Francisco, on the flip side, you only moved up your negotiation value $4 million more, and you drug Brock Purdy's agent down from $65 million, $12 million down to 53. Now, obviously, Brock gets a no trade clause involved, but it's a big win for San Francisco getting their guy on, although I don't think Brock's agent thought they were going to get $65 million. Yeah, it's smart to ask for way over your head, knowing that we're likely going to have to come down inevitably. But on top of that, Adam Schefter also said, so let's table the negotiations for a second and how great Brock's deal is for both sides involved, including Brock and San Francisco themselves. Schefter alluded to the Niners not shopping Brock Purdy, but a reality where they did shop Brock Purdy and nobody was calling. Nobody was talking and trying to get on the phone to call John Lynch and say, hey, what do you want for Brock? And a lot of people are utilizing that as to see, they negotiated against themselves. See, they overpaid for him. See, nobody else wanted to pay Brock Purdy. And to that I say, that's a rumor. That's speculation. In no way did Adam Schefter say XYZ team called, 4 or 5 teams called to trade for Brock Purdy. And even if they did call for Brock Purdy, San Francisco, unless it was for 2 first-round draft picks, is hanging up the phone. Keep in mind, go back to the draft. I know we are, so living in the now, so now-centered, so living for today. Think back a month. What teams really needed quarterbacks? The Titans, who had the number 1 overall pick, knew they were taking Cam Ward. That immediately takes them out of the Brock Purdy conversation in regards to trade talks, right? And they're not giving away the number 1 overall pick for Brock Purdy. In that case, they'll give you a round 2 pick and then take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter and that stuff. Then it's the Cleveland Browns, who are paying Deshaun Watson a ton of money. They brought in Joe Flacco. They have Kenny Pickett. They don't want to have Brock Purdy's contract and Deshaun Watson's contract on their book. They obviously draft Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. So really the Browns were not involved in the Brock Purdy trade talks either, even if it is a speculative trade talk at that. Then you have teams like the New York Giants who go and sign Russell Wilson and go and sign Jameis Winston. They are a regime that would rather have their head coach and their GM, who may get fired this year, they'd rather have both those guys trade up back into the first round for a quarterback than tie this regime and potentially the next one to a quarterback they may or may not actually want in their offense. So again, the Giants are out of the conversation. The only other team needing a quarterback that didn't take one 2 years ago is the New Orleans Saints, which are in no position to go get a top dollar quarterback. They're in the midst of an ugly rebuild. They are trying to tear everything down to build it back up. They have a new head coach. They brought in Tyler Shugg, who's already 26 years old. They're in no way going to be involved in trading for any quarterback. this offseason or even the next offseason. They have to rebuild the entire offense, rebuild the entire defense, and hope they can find some success down the road. So those are 4 teams that walked into this past year's draft needing quarterbacks. And I just told you why all 4 of those teams made absolutely no sense for Brock Purdy. Then you go to last year's draft class. The Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, he's back off the injury. The Seahawks already got Sam Darnold. The Bears have Caleb Williams. The Patriots have Drake May. The Commanders obviously have one of the best young quarterbacks in football in Jaden Daniels. And the Falcons have the year 2 of Michael Penix. Let me ask you again, which team needs a quarterback? The Pittsburgh Steelers, who traded away a handful of picks for DK Metcalf, then traded away George Pickens after the draft? They're kind of a mess. They don't really know what they're doing. They may be in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. It wouldn't make sense to go trade for Brock Purdy if you're Pittsburgh. I know people are going to utilize that and say, well, they couldn't trade Brock even if they tried. I'd push back and say there was nobody calling for Brock Purdy simply because nobody was in a position to acquire Brock Purdy at 1, the asking price, but 2, the actual need of a quarterback like Brock Purdy this offseason, knowing that 1, you have to trade a lot of assets to get him, probably, if not 1 to 2 first-round picks, a plethora of second and third round picks to get Brock Purdy, which even then may not be enough. But also 2, none of those teams are in positions to trade a lot of draft picks and then pay for a top-of-the-line quarterback, now making $53 million per year for the next 5 to 6 seasons. So again, do not listen to people telling you the San Francisco 49ers overpaid or couldn't trade Brock Purdy. Both those statements are false. They worked down Brock Purdy's agent $12 million, have Brock around the 7th highest paid quarterback in football, really, which is in between Tua Tagovailoa and Jared Goff, which you can debate who's better, but ultimately Brock Purdy's had more success than both those guys, or equal to at least Jared Goff in recent seasons. And all the teams that needed quarterbacks were not going to be in the market for a player like Brock Purdy, even though he's one of the best quarterbacks in football, probably in the range of 12 to 8 on a good or bad day. That said, tell me down below what you think about Brock Purdy's first request of $65 million. Do you think San Francisco won this deal? And do you think the San Francisco 49ers may have been wise to try to trade Brock Purdy, or at least entertain the idea to dwindle down that contract even closer to their initial offer of $49 million? Tell me down below in the comments, what is your take on Adam Schefter's report from ESPN? Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave us that 5-star audio podcast review. And as always, my name is Sterling Bennett, and stay faithful.